Today we're taking a look at SmallRig's latest lights, the 220B and the 220D, continuous LED video lights that offer a ton of power for your next still or video shoot. The 220 series of lights offer 220 watts of power on a COB, which means chip on board. That's the little actual LED that is in the light, in a monolight style form factor, just like a regular studio strobe, with continuous output and a really easy to use interface. They are powered via a power brick that is about a 20-foot cable and a separate brick about halfway up the cable, or can actually support, through this little accessory down here, a V-mount style battery. V-mount battery goes in, and then it's a D-tap to XLR locking connector on the back. So taken together, they can be AC continuous power or battery power, all in one package. The V-mount battery is a separate purchase, but is well worth it if you're going to be doing any sort of shooting in the field. Moving into the light itself, it is 220 watts as discussed, and there are actually two models, the 220D, which is in my hand, and the 220B, which is actually lighting the shoot. The D is only daylight balanced, which means it does 5600 Kelvin, and the B does 2700 Kelvin through to 6500 Kelvin. So you can match the B light to other ambient lights. If you've got daylight coming through a window like I do on set here, you can dial in that color balance to match it up. Whereas the D is if you're going to be lighting using just studio lights and want to save a few dollars. These lights rate at 95 CRI and have a TLCI, which is a separate but similar measurement that is specifically for video cameras, of 96 plus. So, taken together, these lights have really good color reproduction. They make things look true to life, and that is really helpful when shooting video and shooting product photography, because it means less time spent tweaking your curves and trying to dial in the color after the fact, and instead just getting good, consistent color quality right out of the camera. So, 220 watts isn't super intuitive if you haven't shot for lighting before, but let me just say that it is a ton of light. I believe that SmallRig rates these to do, with the reflector attached at 1 meter, like 90,000 some lux. I think it's 85,000 for the B and 95,000 for the D. And that measurement as well isn't super intuitive, but suffice to say it is a ton of light. You can light up, I lit up about a 400 square foot room with just one light at about 70% power through a heavy modifier. And this is the only light on set, and I'm getting easy exposure at like ISO 200 on my camera. So, and that's not at full power and through a lantern style modifier. So, a lot of light for anything you're shooting, but it can be really dialed in. It offers an almost stepless increment from 0 to 100% power, and while it's broken down into 100 steps, they are so smooth, the gradations between them, that there's no problem to move between them. On the back, the control system is really easy to figure out. It's two knobs, one which controls intensity, and on the B model, the white balance, and the other is going to control your frequency for wireless control, which we'll talk about in a second here, and the special effects modes. The only problem with that setup is that because of how the knobs are mapped, one knob controls both essential functions. You have to control color balance and intensity off of one knob, meaning you're clicking back and forth to jump between the two settings. I'd love to have seen them map the intensity to one knob and the color balance to the other, with special effects and frequency being kind of the alternate option for both those knobs. But again, it's not a huge deal. The other control option, as I alluded to, was the app. And the app, SmallGoGo, kind of a funky name, is available on iOS and Android. I tested it out on iOS, and it is really pretty simple. It pairs to the light over Bluetooth and exposes all of the same controls that you have on the back of the light through the app, with probably a nicer, easier to use interface. On the top of the light is the cooling, and cooling is a really important discussion for continuous lights because they are always on and therefore are going to be producing heat. As your light heats up, it will need to cool itself down. Some lights that are this style of construction have a fan that is always running and is always loud and annoying. And for both video and really even stills in the studio, that can be a problem. SmallRig handles it really intelligently. The fan only kicks on once the light itself has hit 60 degrees Celsius, or I think it's like 140 Fahrenheit. So it's a really easy solution. They rate it at 25 decibels, which in real world terms means it's virtually inaudible, assuming you don't have your light like set up right next to the mic. So overall, these lights have been awesome to work with, and I'm really impressed. This is one of SmallRig's first forays into lighting. They had done some small on-camera lights before, and I believe they also had a 120D model of this that was just recently announced, the little brother to these lights. And overall, for a company that I previously used for accessories like my L plates and camera cages, to see them deliver so quickly on a well thought out lighting setup is really nice to see. I'm excited to keep using these lights, and I hope you check them out and pick them up. They should be available on B&H at the time that this video has gone up. I'll have a link in the description, and you can also check out SmallRig's site for more information, the full detail and specs, as well as see some of their other accessories. So MSRP for the lights, $329 for the daylight balance model, $369 for the adjustable color temperature model. And my recommendation, again, would be to go for the adjustable color temperature model. The value is really there, and it's well worth the extra few bucks to have that adjustability just to match it to even other lights, because while every manufacturer says, oh yeah, daylight's 5600 Kelvin, there can be still little differences that mean you need it correct for it. So check out the 220D and 220B available now, and let me know what you think. Thanks for tuning in.